by email. But if they did get it by email, they were still told 2 times, change that language because you're going to be maybe in violation of code 14906. I've never had a problem before with TQL until this time when I asked them for a minuscule amount extra for accessorials that they still to this day have failed to pay me for. They failed to pay me for a second stop, and they failed to pay me for lumper services I provided myself in the winter, and they did not pay me. And the guy laughed at me and he hung up on me because I told him I'm going to get that broker transparency because he said he had nothing else to put in. Well, he's been taking a lot of money from not just me, I'm sure from other truckers, and TQL, we all know, steals your money. And I'm going to say that they are stealing our money. Why? Because they're not doing the work that we're putting in. They're not losing sleep. They're not away from their family. They're at home. They're lying. They're saying they're taking an average of 16%. You can't even come to an average of 16% when I got paid 56%. And if you are going to show everybody else what they're getting paid, I'm sure it's even more because I fought for even that 56% because I had a layover and they didn't want to give me the layover at first and had to fight for that. And then they finally gave it to me. So their percentage is a lot more, and that's why they're fighting it. They're going to lose, trust me.
What's going on, Mutha Truckers? Today is a very awesome podcast about something that has been going on for a long time where carriers want broker transparency and freight brokers do not. James from SBTC, he reached out to me and let me know Pink Cheetah Express got some information and comments back from the FMCSA. And I thought this was incredibly interesting. You should follow her on all social medias, but I'll put those links down below. Not just TQL, but other freight brokers as well make carriers sign a contract within minutes. I mean, a load might come up and you got 5 minutes to look at that load and see if you want to take it. Then they send you a contract and you're supposed to read all this, which usually comes with some type of waiver that says here, for example, like the one that Pink Cheetah had. And let me know this, if you've had a TQL contract recently, tell me if this is still on page 4. And here's the language here. It says brokers is not required to disclose its charges to customers, commissions, or brokerage revenue, and carrier waives its right to receive, audit, and or review information and documents to be kept as provided in 49 CFR 371.3, right? And so it's one of those things where they'll put in these waivers and now you can't ask for the rate cons. So this is the big problem. But Pink Cheetah, she reached out to the FMCSA and she wanted to exercise her right of broker transparency. And so when she did, the FMCSA finally emailed her back. And when they emailed her back, they actually put this in the language here and says, to this TQL contract. So if you have a TQL contract, let me know if this has been updated and this waiver has been taken out. But it says here from the FMCSA, remove the following language from any and all broker carrier agreements, which is located on page 4 of the submitted agreement with Pink Cheetah Express LLC. Language as stated below may be a violation of 14906. So Mutha Truckers, the big problem is when you ask for broker transparency, what happens? You get blacklisted, right? And as much as people might say that's not true, believe me when I say it is definitely true, right? And so this was the language that was stated. And so let's get into today's podcast. And I think this is a big one here because the FMCSA literally wrote in this email in the language to say remove the following language from any and all broker carrier agreements about waivers. So, Mutha Truckers, let's get to today's video. But this is interesting. The FMCSA, it sounds like they are doing what they can in this situation, but I wonder why it took them so long to get back to her. This is a big deal, right?
This is not a big deal. This is a huge deal for them to have given. Broker transparency in and of itself is a huge deal. Receiving this information one day after I received information that I asked for from almost a year ago. I think it was March, but not 100% sure because I had been asking for this from 2023 verbally and then in writing in 2024. And Alex, they took forever, and the person in charge of giving it to me was Jennifer Waverly, and she did not release this information because, according to the FOIA investigator, he told me, because I called him back right away and I said, why are you so conveniently giving it to me the next day, knowing that I needed this information so that I could have gotten in contact with all of these truckers that have closed shop already, the ones that would definitely, we wouldn't have to beg to make a comment during the commenting period of their ludicrous NPRM, which is definitely ludicrous, and it's not taking both sides a little bit. They're taking away everything we're asking for. They're taking everything OIDA was asking for. Either you give it to us or you don't give it to us. It's one of the two. And they're not giving it to us purposely, and probably because someone is either profiting over there or someone has a relationship with someone. I don't hold back on my feelings of how I feel. This has nothing to do with SBTC. This is my personal feelings that somebody is benefiting over there from allowing this to happen to truckers. And I asked them for this information. I called the investigator the next day and I said, I would like to know why you so conveniently give it to me the day after the NPRM closes. And he says, I have nothing to do with it. I asked the office where I know I'm going to get the information from, the one that has the information, which is FMCSA, and they just released it to him. And as soon as he gets it, he releases it to us. And I said, well, who was in charge of that? And he said, Jennifer Waverly. That's
Wow.
what I know.
And for, I would say for the most part, most of the people that watch the show, when they do watch this, are truck drivers. But for the ones that are not, just to put it up to speed, it's already been in the rule book for so long that if a carrier, if owner operator wants to ask, how much are we really getting paid for this? You shouldn't get blacklisted. They should be able to
I'm
give you all
blacklisted.
this information, right?
Exactly.
But the truth is they do blacklist you, and
Yes.
they don't want to work with you, and then they make you sign a waiver saying, hey, you won't ask for this information, right? And so can you say exactly what was on that reply letter back from the FMCSA? What makes this so big so that other truck drivers can use this information as well, if you're okay with them? Because I know you posted your letter for them to kind of use this as concrete information that, hey, you guys shouldn't be doing these. As evidence.
So let me just correct myself. There are two FOIA requests that I made. The one I received the day after was the list of how many truck drivers have closed shop from January 1st until the present. And I want you to take a guess right now of how many carriers closed, whether it was willingly or by, and I told them to put willingly or by force, whatever it was. I have to look at this list, but just guess how many altogether have closed from January 1st to present. Just take a wild guess.
And I mean, make 1st, it wild. As in 2024, right?
2021 to present.
Okay, 2021 to present.
Yes, because I wanted those people who were affected to be able to write. And I asked for that request. I believe it was March of 2024. And they just sent it to me the day after. This one for the broker transparency email from the investigator regarding the TQL request was given to me on the last Wednesday. So it's still after the period, and I had been asking for that for over a year. So take a guess, and I mean, make it wild.
Wild. I mean, okay, so all right, let me just throw out. Okay, we know it's in the thousands. Is it in the hundreds of thousands? I'm looking at your face here.
Take a guess.
I'm like, okay, from 2021 to now, I don't know, like 300,000 carriers.
You're very close, but not that close. You're in the hundreds, which is correct. 206,527. And I know
206,000.
That's a
carriers.
lot. That's a lot more than they say are closing. I think they were saying like a few every day, and then every week it was like maybe in the tens, but not hundreds. This is a significant amount of people. And I know that other carriers are opening up and there's a different number that you're going to see, that it's normal that there are going to be more carriers. But I don't believe, knowing how trucking is going and knowing truckers who speak to other people before they're going to open up shop, they always speak to us at the truck stop, at the fuel station, in the store. They're like, hey, tell me about trucking. I tell them right away, don't even think about it. You're not
Mm,
making any money right now unless you have contracts. Get your contracts first, talk to your shippers first, then open up shop and see if you're
yeah.
going to get that lane, because it's not going to work other ways. So I wanted all those people to be able to have an opportunity to comment during the comment period, because those were the people that were affected.
Do you mind doing a little intro of just who you are and where they can follow you? Because that way people can follow this journey. And because so many truck drivers are going through the same thing, you know?
Yes, I'm on Facebook under Pink Cheetah or Pink Cheetah Express. I don't know exactly. I'm not always on them, but I get on them. I'm on LinkedIn under, I don't know what it might be under Dakota Polkowska Springfields, Dakota Springfields, or just Pink Cheetah. I'm on Instagram, Pink Cheetah Express as well.
Okay, good. So what I'll do as well is when you text me a link of all of them, when you figure out what it is, because I don't know what all mine are either. So that wasn't a test for
Okay.
you. And then people can follow your journey on that. But you know,
Okay.
they could. I want
Thank
them to
you.
be able to jump on one of your pages so that they could read this letter that you received from the FMCSA. You know,
Yeah.
and maybe we could break that down a little bit because you know the bulk. I'm reading it right here. I'll put a screenshot when we post the video.
Okay.
Let me see.
And
Remove the
I want you to
following
know that
language.
that
Yeah, go
email
ahead.
was sent 2 times to TQL. I have 2 emails, and it's the
Mm,
same letter that the investigator of FMCSA kept telling TQL, thank you for that information, because they weren't sending them the information they asked for, which is, I want to know how much you got paid before you paid me. So they were giving my information. They gave my BOL, they gave my contract, they gave the carrier agreement, and then the investigator said, thank you for that information. Now send me this and change your contract. And I have 2 emails with 2 different dates and times that it's both on the 30th, but 2 times on the 30th. They told them at 2 different hours of the email, and they sent me 2 different pages. So I just gave you one of the pages, but it just shows you FMCSA was telling them 2 times, thank you for that information, get this out of your contract. Now, they did send me a contract agreement, but it's my contract agreement that I signed with them that had that language in it. So that's why they told them to do that. Now, if they followed up with one, they didn't give me that information. So I believe my request does not have all the information inside of it. And what my request was basically asking them, did you or did you not go in person? Because I believe they went in person. Why do I believe they went in person? Because the investigator told me he's going in person. That's one. Two, I met a truck driver who I met in person at a truck stop who told me, hey, I got your information because somebody else heard about your story. And I looked at my text messages. He showed me text messages on his phone that showed another trucker said, hey, something huge is happening at TQL. There's lights over here and sirens, and they have, FMCSA on the side of the doors. And he was making a delivery down the block to an air gas place or something. And then he was coming back. It was like 3 or 4 vehicles there. So I described these vehicles for them in my request. And I said, did these vehicles on this day show up for my request? Because I was told by the investigator, and that was my understanding, that they went there in person. Their FMCSA, the FOIA request shows like an email, but it's not like an email that's continuing like a chain link, just a
yeah.
separate email. I don't know if they made that up. I'm not going to put it past anybody in the federal government at this point. I don't trust the federal government. And I think they're doing things to cover themselves up. And I do not believe that they just got it by email, but they want to pretend that they did. To me, they're pretending. That is my feeling, because I was already told this by the investigator. And I even kept asking, I want to speak to that investigator to ask him myself, because I just don't believe that they just got it by email. But if they did get it by email, they were still told 2 times, change that language because you're going to be maybe in violation of code 14906. And this is what I've said all along. Yes, when I signed those agreements, I know what the law is, and I know you cannot deregulate yourself from federal regulation. So I signed on the dotted line. Why? Because I, like all these other carriers, I need money. I need to pay my bills, and I'm going to sign what I got to sign and do what I got to do so I could just get that load and just keep trucking. And I've never had a problem before with TQL until this time when I asked them for a minuscule amount extra for accessorials that they still to this day have failed to pay me for. They failed to pay me for a second stop, and they failed to pay me for lumber services I provided myself in the winter, and they did not pay me. And the guy laughed at me and he hung up on me because I told him I'm going to get that broker transparency because he said he had nothing else to put in. Well, he's been taking a lot of money from not just me, I'm sure from other truckers, and TQL, we all know, steals your money. And I'm going to say that they are stealing our money. Why? Because they're not doing the work that we're putting in. They're not losing sleep. They're not away from their family. They're at home. They're lying. They're saying they're taking an average of 16%. You can't even come to an average of 16% when I got paid 56%. And if you are going to show everybody else what they're getting paid, I'm sure it's even more because I fought for even that 56% because I had a layover and they didn't want to give me the layover at first and had to fight for that. And then they finally gave it to me. So their percentage is a lot more, and that's why they're fighting it. They're going to lose, trust me.
Yeah, no, I'm reading. So I'm reading this right. So the FMCSA told them remove the following language from any and all broker carrier agreements, which is located on page 4 of the submitted agreement with Pink Cheetah Express LLC. Language, as stated below, may be violation of 14906. So, it's one of those things where, do you think this is a problem specifically to TQL, or do you think this is a problem just in the freight broker world for the most part? And the second question to that is everybody you think bad at TQL, or is it a couple of people that the CEO over there needs to fire? You know what I mean? Like, is it a couple eggs
Yeah.
making it all bad for everybody, or is
There's
it
a
the whole
lot of
system?
eggs making it bad for everybody. If you went there, it would smell like rotten eggs, I'm sure. So I would say they need, but they're not going to revamp because the reason they have a stadium and all these fine, things that they can buy is because of the sweat of labor of truck drivers. So they're not going to fire them, but they should fire Mr. Steadley, who's the one who thought he was playing with, a batch of matches that weren't going to light on fire, but he was playing with the wrong pink cheetah. And I believe that there are a lot of good guys over there because I was even offered a load after that. And I did a load for TQL after that load with the ice cream. So I'm not black. I wasn't blacklisted until I asked for broker transparency. I never had a problem. I've done many loads with them. In fact, I asked them for 14 additional um, broker transparency documentation on, and they still to this day haven't given it to me, even though they were given this information. And after that last email in my group of, I think, 13 pages that they sent me or so, or actually, no, they sent me like 33, but I had 13 where it's their emails and stuff. I did not see any follow up email that said, hey, here is our updated contract agreement. So I don't know if they've changed it, but anybody, and I've signed a lot of contracts. I've done trucking for going on 10 years. So I would say a small amount of people have this writing in their documentation in their carrier agreements. And all of those I have asked for, and I haven't received them. Only a couple of people I received, but not everything I asked for. They're just showing me pictures of my own BOL I sent them. I'm like, this is not this is not the broker documentation. That's the carrier documentation. Give me the broker documentation. And then what's even worse, Alex, Kentucky, the FMCSA people at Kentucky, I asked for two different companies, broker transparency documentation there. As soon as I sent in the request, I got an email immediately denying both requests, immediately, within a minute. So I said, something's wrong over there. Let me call them up and ask them, maybe you made a mistake. I'm sure, because you didn't even have time to read them. So they said, oh, well, we all have assistants, and our assistants go through the requests that come in because so many come in. Okay, so many come in that they just, if they don't know whatever, they're just like sending it out to, the closed list, and everybody doesn't fight back. But Pink Cheetah fights back. And I said, well, you need to instruct your assistant that this is a very big deal that's on the plate of truckers right now to make a living or not, to get your attention here. We need broker transparency. They said, but what exactly is that? What do you mean, what exactly is that? How is it that your staff don't know the number one issue in trucking today with truckers is broker transparency? So I had to contact, they went to another office and they kept me on the phone. They went to another office to ask another fellow investigator, hey, do you know what broker transparency is? They're like, no. Three of them all together in one room with me on the phone, and I explained to them what it was. Once they looked me up, I don't know if I'm red flagged over there. They said, well, you're going to have to wait until a decision is made a year from now when they're going to make a decision. I was like, why do I have to wait till then for you to make a decision on something? I already received it from one office in Ohio. Why don't you do your job in Kentucky and follow through and follow the same?
Mm,
They didn't want to. And
yeah.
FMCSA probably told them don't.
Wow.
So not everyone is bad at TQL. Not everyone is bad. I have a lot of brokers there that are very nice, and they would call me to do the job, And if I
Right.
couldn't do it all the time, I tell them, listen, I do have friends that are available, probably in that area. Let me get somebody for you.
I'd love to share this and let people know that, look, the FMCSA, they also agree that these freight brokers need to be throwing out this whack waiver that they have, making carriers sign this just so that they could grab, a load to provide for their family, right? So,
Yes,
you know,
definitely.
no, I appreciate it. No, definitely when you have an update, jump back on the show. I love this. And, everybody, please follow her. I'm going to put all links down below when we get them. And so, no,
Yes.
that's great. No, I appreciate you. No, thanks.
Thank you so much, Alex. Have a great day.